We're going to be traveling through the Milky Way today, looking at the Jungle Leopard Star Trails. This is a reverse blade fan, and it's got an infinity mirror on the side, and they have this pretty cool looking product picture over here on the side. But let's take a closer look at this fan. A little bit of specs about it. It's a $12 fan, pretty close to bog standard hydrodynamic bearing, which is just a fluid dynamic bearing, just alternative name. 1,850 RPM, so it isn't a ultra high performing, but it's in that adequate range, so that 1,500 to 2,000 is sort of that good enough for most builds unless you're running really high powered components or planning on overclocking. So we're going to see how it does. At this time, I'd also like to thank iCooler for providing me this review sample of the Jungle Leopard Star Trails fans. It's really awesome that they are willing to work with me. No money exchange hence. They just gave me the product for, well, this review, and give it the best go I can. All the data is done the exact same way, no matter whether I'm given a fan or I purchase it myself. Okay, let's take a look at how this Star Trails fan looks like. So it's got central hub illumination as well as around the edges, a little bit of illumination around, well, all sides, and a infinity mirror effect, which I actually like the infinity mirror look, especially if you're going to put on like an AAO, stuff like that. The hub illumination is pretty basic. How many lights is that on the inside? Like 6? I guess it didn't like me spinning it up. Spinning at a low RPM, so I'm not worried about my fingers. It's very lightweight. The outer frame of it is actually like oversized to the point that it didn't fit in my adapter for 120 to 140 millimeter fans. So I had to do a different solution for it. It's just sort of this weird thing going on there. Take a look at the back. This strut is extra oversized. It could be a lot narrower and it's completely flat on the top. These other struts do have a little bit of shape to them to help deflect air, and they're pretty thin, which is something I do like to see. It's got rubber pads around the edges of it. What else? The gap between the edge and the frame is actually pretty good, but the fan blades just seem a little bit on the small side considering the size of the fan. I'm going to pull up my A12X25 as an example, and I don't know, it just looks small, doesn't it? It could just be me and getting used to 140 millimeter class fans, but it just seems a little bit on the small side. It's just an effect of some of these more intricate RGB fans that the side illumination need to have room for the LEDs. So visual first, performance second, potentially. We're going to need to really determine what it is in the value proposition in terms of performance, and you have to be the judge of it in terms of its physical appearance. The first series of tests is the case simulation test. This is going to be looked at in a couple ways, and depending on which data point you're going to look most closely at. So the first data point is the 6-inch mark. This is like having fans at the bottom of your computer case blowing up towards your GPU, giving you that enhanced cooling for the GPU. It's also all these are for air-cooled systems as the main assumption. So in air cooler, you got fans blowing air in, and it needs to get to the air cooler for optimal cooling. So that's why which data point you're looking at is very important for whatever size computer case you're looking at. So going back to that 6-inch mark, it's for ITX type builds, so they're very short, but you still got a front-to-back airflow type design, equivalent of around 120 millimeter class fan in the length of that computer case. Then you got the 9-inch mark. This is a lot like your media center type PCs for the length of it, and it'd be the equivalent of having 220s. Then the 11-inch mark, your standard mid-towers, 320s or a 360 AIO, and then your truly large towers at the 14.5-inch mark, 340 millimeter class fans. So you do want to pay attention to which data point is going to be most specific towards your build. Now, to take a look at how it compares against my control fan, it's my standardized control fan based 3 parts A12X5 to 1 part A14, blending the 2 data points of the fans together to create a, composite blended fan to make a, quote, idealized type 1. And the Star Trails doesn't perform very well, does it? At 100% PWM fan signaling, it does significantly better, but it's still a bit on the noisy side compared to the control fan. Now, I do want to make one note here. Having 3 fans, 4 fans, whatever, how many you're in the front of your computer case blowing air towards the back, it will do the job. But having better fans will do the job, well, better. And if you're going for an AIO build, depending on whether you're an air-cooled GPU or full liquid cooling, you're going to be looking at the data a little bit differently, because at some point, the total cubic foot per minute the fan can provide is more important than the quality of the airflow it can provide. So that's why this test is more specific towards air-cooled type systems. Now, how does it compare against, well, other fans? Ignore the fact that the Jungle Leopard did dip below 0. It can't. It's just the way the graph line is drawn in Excel, but it basically hit 0 and it stayed there. It's among the worst fans I've tested in terms of its actual performance. Bar graph form, it's not going to change the story. Taking a look at the new 18.5, 18 decibel mark, well, here it's starting to look a little bit better. It's still not as good as most of the other fans, but it's able to actually have airflow at bigger cases as opposed to it basically being 0. So that is better if you can put up with the higher noise level. Bar graph form, I'm going to keep moving on. At 100% PWM fan signaling, it's at the bottom end of this grouping of kind of good-ish fans. Mind, not all of them I would consider to be good as you get towards the bottom end of it, where this is a spectrum of fans tested, so it is sitting at the bottom of it. Doesn't get a strong recommendation as a case fan. Locking in specific RPMs for the fan to see how it compares at, well, those specific RPMs, and it does better than the Jungle Leopard P1 and the T30, which is kind of funny. But it's a far cry from better fans like the TLS12 and the Bionics F120. Those guys just do a lot better here. Moving things up to 1,500 RPM, the Star Trails is still sitting at the bottom of the graph. It's just not able to concentrate that airflow very effectively. And taking a look at airspeed versus decibel reading. As a note, every 10 decibels is a doubling in noise volume, so meaning it sounds twice as loud every 10 decibels. So another way to look at it is every 5 is 50% more noise. So the Jungle Leopard Star Trails is well towards the bottom, and actually it starts off pretty noisy altogether. So it isn't an awesome fan. I'd like to see another revision of it to I don't know, re-engineer it, because the RGB is pretty nice looking. SON is just another way of looking at noise data. I have a whole video piece about SON on my channel if you're really curious about it. But the end result is that it smushes together quieter noise levels and it stretches out louder ones. And it's pretty evident that the Star Trails is quite noisy for the amount of airflow it can provide. Now we're on to performance through the CPU air cooler, the Noctua U12A. And the first graph here is meters per second versus RPM. This is a blade efficiency graph. It's how good is this blade design at shoving air through a cooler. And it's pretty evident that the basic blade design is effective. How good is it noise-wise? Well, that's where we take a look at the second graph. We got meters per second versus decibels, and the Star Trails falls apart. It's very noisy for the amount of airflow it can provide. It's just very evident on that graph altogether. So let's keep moving. And thanks to viewers like you, I was able to purchase a radio. Unfortunately, it's not hooked up to a test system yet because I can't quite build a custom test loop system at this time yet. But I'm able to do testing airflow going through it, so I'm able to equalize it to my previous test, which is using the Noctua U12A. And comparing the two data points, it's pretty clear that the U12A and the Nemesis radiator, 140mm radiator, have very similar air speeds going through it. This isn't saying cooling potential is the same, this is air speed going through it. So that means that the data for the U12A is equivalent resistance as the Nemesis radiator. And I was also able to convert my old desktop, my gaming desktop, into this channel's, test system. I have a Liquid Freezer 3 AIO hooked up to it. A lot cheaper than building a custom loop, so that's what I'm going with right now. I'm not super happy with this test data currently. Think of this as revision run of generating any data like this at all for me. If I get there, full redoing of airflow testing will be in revision 3 of my test data. Doing thermal testing takes an incredibly long amount of time, so it's hard to generate this data. Like I'm only testing it at basically 3 data points, and it takes like 30-40 minutes to just get 3 data points. So there's some technical limitations with doing this test right now. But it's pretty clear that the Star Trails is last year. At this time, I'd also like to thank my Patreon and YouTube members. You guys rock. It's you guys that actually support this channel kind of the most with helping contribute in that way. The higher 2 tiers do have access to my raw data. But I'm slowly building up towards better revamping of everything. I bought a 3D printer recently, and I'm making my new test apparatuses, whatever the proper plural is there. So a lot of growth that I'm trying to generate with this channel, despite its very small size. And those of you who have just subscribed, that does help a long way in gaining this channel more traction, more visibility. So please think about just throwing a like, subscribe if you like what I'm doing. Let's carry on with this, and we'll talk more at the end. All right, so taking a look at the Star Trails performance versus other fans at my 2 noise normalized values. The 17.5 decibel reading is in blue, and the 10.5 decibel reading is in red. And the Star Trails is last. Let's keep moving. Locking in specific RPMs, the weighing factor for how it scales this is over there. And the Star Trails is last. Once again, at 1,500 RPM, it's last one, or not last, but it's well towards the bottom. Its actual airspeed that it can do is actually not too bad, but the noise level that it generates doing it is not that great, if I'm honest. At 100%, it's last from kind of this grouping. There are fans that don't spin as fast that actually would, rank underneath it, but this isn't really a very good fan altogether here. So then airspeed versus decibel rating, it's not ranking very well. So this fan is very clearly all show and not so much performance. Jungle Leopard, if you're watching this, I hope you make a version 2 of this fan and focus more on performance rather than your lighting. All right, this time we're doing CFM testing. So CFM testing is real simple. You got a fan, you got a tube, you stick the fan against the tube, and you blow air down it, and you generate data. So CFM is just cubic feet per minute, or the volumetric flow rate. And this is one of the reasons why I'm building those test apparati. I'm going to have updated values. So my anemometer requires air to hit it the fan on it spins in a specific direction, which happens to be the opposite direction in which the reverse plate fan spins, which means when the air hits it and interacts with it, instead of it flowing with the fan, it's interfering with it, causing it to not spin very well. It's hard to describe the phenomenon without a video. If you guys are curious, I can piece something about that together, how airflow off fans. But that's why these reverse speed fans do really terrible in this test, and why I need to rev the testing. And it will come, and the data will be here, and it will be improved. I just need time, because I'm only one person, and it takes time and forever to get anything done. So take it with a grain of salt. So it's last, I already explained it, why I think it's interfering and not testing properly. But yeah, I'm gonna have a new piece on my channel about the new testing equipment when I get it. All right, finally, we're in the value proposition. This is performance per dollar. It is not raw performance. So you need to have a budget in mind for how much you're willing to spend on a fan or multiple fans for that large scale budget there, and determine where on that budget you care about aesthetics or performance. And so this value proposition only looks at performance, and the Star Trails is not a very good value overall at $12. The RGB is nice, but the physical performance for what this fan can deliver is not hitting it in case airflow. We already talked about CFM. We know it's going to be bad here because of problems with the testing equipment that is getting upgraded, I hope, I need to do validation testing first to see if it's equivalent to what I was able to generate before. So I need to test a whole bunch of other fans that I have before I can roll out that test and call it equivalent, or have to start from scratch. CPU cooler testing, the value is well towards the bottom. It did okay, but it's just not a high performer, especially considering its price. So it's a high price for the amount of performance that it could deliver. And that brings me to the TLDR. Just a quick recap, let's say. So for CPU low wattage type systems, assuming that the cooler was already capable of handling whatever thermal load was on it, it's average. There's its rank, but its value is meh. High wattage CPUs, it got a score of false. That means I have a little error in my ranking system, but it means it was so bad that it doesn't even rank. So don't even do it. Value, meh. Small compact cases, bad. Value, meh. Mid-sized cases, okay. Meh. So, yeah, it's not great. Here's the raw data. The raw data does belong to me and this channel. If you want to use it for your own personal use, you may go ahead and do so. Or if you want to use it in any other written video, publication, journal, whatever, do ask there to reference me in my channel. As I mentioned earlier, if you would like access to the raw data, you do need to become a subscriber to this channel, specifically at the 2 higher tiers, either in YouTube or as a Patreon. And then I would need to give your specific email access to the hosted data, since I don't know another way to do it right now. And that'll get updated periodically as I continually test more and more fans. Those of you who've subscribed to become YouTube members and Patrons, you guys are awesome. It's come a long way. I really am getting there. Having the test system, a dedicated test system now, is great for kind of a shift in that direction, as well as basically having that 3D printer, because I'm able to make like test apparatuses and airflow guides and be able to test some really cool things now. And I have to design them and stuff like that and actually get them printed. So we're shaping up to like actually, well, I hope, growth for this channel and really a big jump in like testing quality. But I know that being able to subscribe to a channel and essentially pay some random guy on the internet, YouTube, money may not be in the books for you, or you're not comfortable doing it altogether. But if you want to hit that subscribe button, I really would appreciate it. It does help this channel gain traction, and traction means more viewers, and well, that does help me a long way. And if you like what I'm doing, think about throwing a like and whatever else. Anyways, thank you very much for making this far in this video. If you got suggestions for me for fans that I haven't tested, leave in the comment sections. If you've got suggestions for ways to improve the video, I'm willing to constructive criticism. Anyways, have a great one. I'll see you next time here on Computer Tech and More.